Bonsoir, welcome back to eNCA. This is Sports on South Africa tonight. Boxing South Africa will conduct a medical review into the brain injury that resulted in the passing of Simiso Buthelezi. He was found to have a brain injury after Sunday's vacant WBF All-Africa lightweight title bout, and that was against Simiso Buthelezi. Buthelezi later died in Durban, having been in an induced coma. For more on this tragic story, we are joined by boxing journalist Peter Leopeng. A very good evening, Mr. Leopeng. Great to have you. But of course, on these sad news, after the passing of Smiso Buthelezi last night, what was your initial reaction after you heard the news?
Well, it was very, very sad. It was sad. We saw the tournament live on Sunday. We saw what happened to him in the ring when he started acting funny in the ring, and then later on we were told that he's in hospital in an induced coma, as you said, and then later on then we heard that he was dead, and we only heard this morning that he passed away last night, and it's very, very tragic.
All right, Mr. Leopeng, of course it is very tragic. Boxing South Africa did say they will conduct a medical review regarding the brain injury. How do you think that would go?
No, it would go okay. It's not the first time that we've had such an incident. In fact, since 1905, we've had about 80 deaths in the ring, 26 amateurs and about 54 in the professional ranks. So yes, we do have such things, and not only in South Africa, it happens all over the world. Last year, for instance, we had a death in the ring from a Russian boxer, and then this year, about two of the deaths happened also after the boxer was injured. But it is not always brain injuries, Arthur.
Yes, I was going to ask that.
Yes, sometimes it's a heart attack. We had a boxer, Musa Yamak. He had a record of 8 fights, 8 wins, 8 KOs, and he was fighting. And when he came up into the third round, he collapsed. So yes, I know there's a lot of people who are talking about boxing should be banned. The truth is, yes, boxing is a barbaric sport. It is a very barbaric sport. What sport is it that where the aim is to go there and maim your opponent and knock him out unconscious? So
there needs to be a change to the precautions around the sport of boxing if you're going to call it barbaric.
Yes, it is barbaric. I've said it before and I'll say it again. But precautions are there, right? And obviously the next question would be, should boxing be banned? No, it cannot be banned because what we do if we ban it, it goes underground. It's going to even be worse. Because as human beings, I think we are prone to competing, physically and trying to see now who is better than the other. And then people do it in the ring. At least it is controlled there because in each and every tournament you will have two medical officers, right,
on site.
Yeah, at ringside.
Yes.
You will have paramedics. You will have an ambulance waiting outside, and you will alert the nearest hospital to say, look, we're having a tournament. It could happen that we might have an emergency. So
but then when must a fight be stopped, Peter?
It depends on the referee. And in this particular case, by the way, with Smiso Buthelezi, the referee did a very, very sterling job because he realized immediately that there was something wrong, and then he stopped the fight. So it is at the discretion of the referee. The referee decides and says, okay, the boxer is not well. Can the fight proceed or not? And then he makes that decision.
All right, Peter, how does this affect, Smiso's opponent, Simiso Buthelezi? How will he react to this? How must he take such a loss, especially after this tragic news?
Yeah, it's very, very sad. It has happened before. Some boxers sometimes have felt that this is not on and they need to stop boxing. For instance, say in 1986, when Brian Mitchell knocked out Jacob Morake in the 12th round. After Jacob Morake died 2 days later after that fight, Brian Mitchell wanted to stop boxing. He said, no, he's not going to go boxing. And Jacob Morake's mother spoke to him and encouraged him and said, look, my son died in the ring, died doing what he likes the best. So maybe continue boxing. And Brian Mitchell continued boxing, became a world champion, and defended his title 12 times successfully. And he's one of the most successful boxers ever produced from this country.
Is it time to review the precautions and the boxing checks, of course, that take place in the sport?
I don't think so. I think everything really that can be done is being done. And surprisingly, there are also deaths, by the way, in other sports. So rugby, you get deaths. In soccer, you do get deaths. So given the brutal effect of boxing, really boxing is not doing that bad in seeing that now there's such few deaths, if you like, happening in the ring.
All right, last question, Mr. Leopeng. How do you think Smiso Buthelezi should be best remembered?
Well, look, he was not, he hadn't really been long in the professional ranks. When he went into that fight, he had only 4 fights, with, winning all 4 of them. And he had 2 knockouts and no defeat. And by all accounts, he was doing very, very well in that fight. Actually, he was winning that fight. But it just happened that, he just died, and it's just tragic. It's just one of those things. He was a warrior. He did what he liked doing. He went into the ring, and unfortunately he died, and that's how really we can remember him.
All right, thank you very much. That was boxing journalist Peter Leopeng, of course, regarding that tragic story that came in last night. Of course, the bad news of Smiso Buthelezi passing away after that brain injury.